Thanks for listening to Star Lores. If you like the show, please consider subscribing and giving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also help us make more great content by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com. We would also love to hear from you on social media. You can follow Star Lores on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Enjoy the show, and may the Force be with you.
You are listening to the Star Lores Podcast.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
But I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Han Solo. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon. Chewie here tells me you're looking for passage to the Alderaan system.
Yes, indeed. If it's a fast ship.
Fast ship? You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?
Should I have?
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Pilot, rogue, smuggler, rebel, and father. As a hero, Han Solo is a fan favorite character of the Star Wars universe. Regardless of what you might thought of Disney's Han Solo movie, we'll be talking about a different Han, a legendary Han. This is a story of Han Solo before Disney. Han Solo was a male human born on the planet Corellia 29 years before the Battle of Yavin 4. He was orphaned at an early age and later adopted by the abusive pirate Garrus Shrike. Garrus trained orphans in scams and thievery and funneled their earnings into his own pockets. He was found by the violent and temperamental pirate in a spaceport, stationed aboard Garrus's ship, Trader's Luck, in orbit over Corellia. Han ran missions earned his keep by begging and pickpocketing. While under Garrus' care, Han met and befriended an old female Wookiee named Dawalana Mapai, or Dulana for short. Dulana served as a cook aboard the Trader's Luck and became a surrogate mother to Han. This was how Solo learned to understand the Wookiee language of Shirwook. Dulana further fostered Han's education by teaching him mathematics, physics, and history, and encouraging his extracurricular reading. The only education Shrike provided his adopted children was basic elementary curriculum from the ship's computer. During one of Shrike's many cons, Han received some schooling while working undercover. During one such mission, young Han met the Corellian senator Garm Bel Ibis. This encounter left an impression on the senator, who recalled meeting the young Han years later. When Han was 9, during the Clone Wars, he met and befriended Bay, a human-Nagai hybrid. Bay was as tall as a Wookiee at 17 years old, and used his size to intimidate others. He adopted Han as a little brother and often looked out for him. When they first met, Bay saved Han from being ganged up on by street youths on Corellia. Bay taught Han how to fight, and the young Solo looked up to his adoptive older brother. Solo executed his escape from Shrike as a teenager, and was driven to discover who his parents were and learn about his family history. Until this point, Han had not even known his surname, as Garrus Shrike kept everything he knew about Han a secret to better manipulate the boy. When he joined the Corellian security force, Han lost contact with Bay. Severe injuries forced him into early retirement. Thereafter, he became listless and began to wander the galaxy. As he grew older, he learned new skills and was a part of numerous scams to participate in the dangerous and underground swoop racing circuit. Eventually, Han discovered he was a descendant from the famous family line on Corellia, the Solos. Notable Solos included the Corellian king Baratheon Solo, who introduced democracy to Corellia during the golden age of the Old Republic. Han's living relatives included his aunt Tion Sal Solo, who became a recluse and suffered from bouts of uncontrollable weeping. Tion's son, Han's cousin Thraken Sal Solo, was a violent bully who exhibited traits of conduct disorder. Thraken physically and verbally abused the younger, smaller Han. Eventually, he could not tolerate the abuse and struck back at Thraken, forcing him to reveal everything he knew about the Solo family history. Thraken gained the upper hand and turned Han back over to Garrus Shrike. This would not be the last time the cousins met.
I sentence you to death, Solo. May you rot in all the hells there ever were. Garrus Shrike.
Han was forced to run many dangerous missions throughout the galaxy for Shrike. He was present during the Battle of Kashyyyk during the Clone Wars. During an undercover mission, Han infiltrated a notorious pirate group led by the brigands Limo and Sanda. Solo engaged in professional swoop racing, and during a race caused future bounty hunter Dengar to crash. The accident permanently maimed, disfigured, and disabled the upstart swoop pilot. Han Solo was arrested for cheating in a card game and sentenced to fight as a gladiator on a penal colony on Jubilar, Regional Sector No. 4's all-human free-for-all. Solo battled 3 larger human gladiators and won in unarmed combat, though not without having several bones broken. Han noted a Mandalorian armor-clad bounty hunter in the audience. This was the first time Han saw the notorious bounty hunter, who would haunt him for years to come. In 10 BBY, Solo had decided again to flee the trader's luck in order to strike out on his own. He stowed away aboard an automated freighter, the Elysian Dream, and traveled to the planet Elysia in response to an advertisement for work for the priests that lived there. As he said his goodbyes to Dulana, Shrike sent armed thugs to stop Han from leaving. Dulana sacrificed herself to permit Han the opportunity to escape, successfully stowing away aboard the Elysian Dream.
Arriving on Elysia, Solo adopted the pseudonym Vic Drago and applied to be the pilot of the Elysian Dream. The Dream was previously a drone ship and was prone to attacks by pirates and raiders. He was assigned a bodyguard by the name of Murg, a Togorian who also served the function of keeping Han in line. Han eventually befriended Murg and started a romantic relationship with an Elysian pilgrim from Corellia named Bria Theron. The Elysian high priest employed Han, who soon uncovered a plot used by the priests as slave traffickers. They used the religious pilgrims who came to the world as slaves in the production and mining of the spice glitter stim. To his horror, Han had been employed as a sentient trafficker. Han left the world with Murg, Bria, and Marav, Murg's fiancée, after the discovery of the slave operations and the facade of Bria's religion. Before uncovering the trafficking scheme, Bria was slated to be married to Gunnar Toss, the major domo of the high priest. In their escape, Han and Bria stole a treasure and killed the hut boss of Elysian's smuggling ring by causing a ceiling to collapse on him. This earned Han the enmity of the Hutt's family, who sent bounty hunters after him. However, they only knew Han by his alias, Vic Drago. Han and his friends stole a ship called Talisman and escaped Elysia. Aboard this ship, he revealed his true identity to his friends. Han and Bria went to Murg and Marav's homeworld of Togoria to drop them off. The Togorians invited the couple to stay for their nuptial celebration. Han and Bria spent several days on the world and with each other. Bria used this rare period of leisure to teach Han how to swim. Despite the two falling deeper in love, Bria still felt the residual effects from her addiction to the psychological addictive process called exaltation, a remainder of her past involvement in the Elysian cult. This method was used as a behavioral control mechanism by the Elysian priests. Bria suffered withdrawals, panic attacks, and crying fits, and struggled with the loss of her religious identity. Han and Bria went back to Corellia to reunite Bria with her parents, stopping briefly on the planet Talos, where they sold the talisman. They accepted far less than market value, as it was being searched for by the angered Hutts. Han and Bria posed as a married couple and booked themselves passage to Karelia, where they met Bria's family. Her father was grateful to Han for saving her from the cult, but her brother and mother did not trust him. Here, Solo's criminal past re-emerged, and Bria thought it best that she and Han leave the Karelian system. The reason for her flightiness was that Han was wanted by both his former criminal employers and the Karelian security forces. Under these circumstances, she did not trust her family to keep Han safe. Before leaving Karelia, Han sold the treasures they had stolen from the high priest on Elysia. Using Bria's father's influence and wealth, Han was able to adopt a new identity and enroll in the Imperial Academy on Coruscant. Under the new pseudonym Genos Idanian, Han and Bria arrived on Coruscant to enlist in the Imperial Navy. Han attempted to withdraw the credits under his alias, but the account was blocked by Karelian security forces, who identified it as a fraudulent account and were now looking for the fugitive. Forced into the lower levels of Coruscant, Bria had decided to leave Han, as she felt her addiction and dependence on Han was preventing him from moving forward with his life. Han submitted his application to the Imperial Academy with the help of a referral from Bria's father on Karelia. He used his pseudonym, complete with fake retinal patterns, to hide his criminal record. After Bria's departure, Han took the entrance exams and was admitted into a 2-year flight program on Karita. Solo was an unorthodox applicant, taking alternative routes on his flight test, which helped him to achieve the fastest score. During his flight, he executed a risky maneuver, threading the needle through the Arch of Triumph rather than following the standard parade routes. Han did poorly on cultural and mathematics scores, but did well in piloting and technical skills. While preparing to leave Karita, Han had one last confrontation with Garrus Shrike, who recognized Han's alter ego, Vic Drago. A third bounty hunter, hired by the Hutts, intervened and killed Shrike, and was in turn dispatched by a blaster bolt to the face from Han. Solo left all of his identification and clothing as Vic Drago on the corpse to mislead any future hunters into believing that Vic was dead. Though heartbroken by Bria's departure, Han followed through with his studies at the Imperial Academy and made new friends, notably TIE fighter trainee Suntir Fel. The trainee went on to become an Imperial hero and fighter ace. Han also befriended Mako Spince, another skilled pilot from Karelia. Solo did well in the practical applications of piloting, but suffered in the academic department. He was often cited for behavioral issues and received demerits and an investigation into the destruction of the Academy's mascot moon, although he was acquitted. Solo garnered mixed reviews from his instructors in the Imperial Navy. Some praised Han's piloting skills and intelligence, but others questioned his free-spirited nature as being unsuitable for military service. Despite his shortcomings, he showed great drive and improved his academic performance, managing to graduate as a lieutenant at the top of his class. Han was assigned to the commander of P-Tier Niklas, who was in charge of constructing the Imperial Hall of Heroes, which required the acquisition of Wookiee slaves. On one assignment, he boarded a derelict craft carrying numerous Wookiee slaves that had attempted an escape. One wounded Wookiee, named Chewbacca, was piloting the craft. Han had been ordered to skin the Wookiee who had fallen unconscious due to his wounds, but Han refused the order, sympathetic to the Wookiees due to his foster mother, Dulana. As punishment, Han and Chewbacca were forced into the continued construction of the Hall of Heroes. Chewbacca, enraged at his own captivity, cruel beatings, and ceaseless slave labor, attacked Commander Niklas. The commander pulled a blaster on the Wookiee and beat him close to death. At this, Han intervened again and shot his commanding officer with a stun blast and helped Chewbacca escape, earning Han the Wookiee's life debt. Han was court-martialed and discharged from the Imperial Navy and became wanted on the charge of treason and had a bounty placed on his head by the Empire. Han and his new sidekick Chewbacca turned to a life of smuggling in order to make credits.
Disenchanted with life due to the loss of his dream of serving in the Imperial Navy, Han turned to playing the card game Sabacc and drinking to console himself. He wound up on the planet Deveron, where he was accused of cheating at Sabacc by a Barabel female named Shalimar. Barabels are large reptilian aliens known for their aggressive demeanor. The confrontation turned violent, and Chewbacca engaged Shalimar. The confrontation ended when Han shot the Barabel gambler above the knee, granting them the opportunity to escape. Han did not always appreciate Chewbacca's company, but encounters like this made Han glad to have the Wookiee muscle as an ally. Solo and Chewbacca started smuggling with his old Imperial Academy friend Mako Spince, another burnout, and the three became partners working out of Nar Shaddaa. They often took contracts for Jabba and Jiliak, the Hutts. Han went on many adventures and met many new people that would cycle in and out of his life. One such person was a young street urchin named Jarek, who falsely claimed to be Han's long-lost nephew. The now street-smart smuggler was not fooled, but Han was sympathetic to the boy and took him in. Solo had many romantic entanglements. One of his memorable paramours included a smuggler and mechanic named Sala Zend, who wanted to marry him. Not one to stick to a specific type, Solo later became romantically involved with a traveling magician named Zaviri. During their relationship, Han accompanied her as an assistant for 6 months. Due to his life debt, Chewbacca was honor-bound to stay at Han's side, awkward third wheel status notwithstanding. Zaviri, like her smuggling companions, had a vendetta against the Empire, and the crew sabotaged Imperial officers and bureaucrats who attended their shows. The adventurous relationship soon ran its course, and the Corellian found himself back on Nar Shaddaa. It was at this time that Han met the professional 27-year-old gambler named Lando Calrissian. At the time of their introduction, Calrissian had just won a YT-1300 freighter called the Millennium Falcon while playing Sabacc. Lando sought the now-renowned pilot Han Solo on Nar Shaddaa to learn how to fly from him. The gambler found and saved Solo from the bounty hunter Boba Fett. This began a piloting mentorship of Solo and Calrissian. Solo envied Lando's ship and even plotted ways to acquire the vessel. Eventually, he gave up on his schemes and leased a Soro sub starmite called the Bria, named for his former lover, from Lando. Solo found himself in an integral role at the Battle of Nar Shaddaa, when Imperial forces sought to crack down on the Hutt operations. Teaming up with Mako Spince, the two led an insurrection of smugglers and pirates that resulted in a costly space battle that ultimately repelled the Imperial invaders. Han lost his ship, the Bria, shortly after the battle when Imperial fighters shot her down. After the battle, Solo and Chewbacca were forced to work again with Mako Spince. However, their partnership would sour after he was crippled on a smuggling tryst and was forced into early retirement. After his failure at smuggling, Han went to Cloud City in a desperate gambling ploy in order to make some fast credits. He won in a high-stakes Sabacc tournament and beat Lando Calrissian, winning a large sum of credits as well as the Millennium Falcon. With his new ship, Han and Chewbacca would go on to take work across the galaxy, distancing himself further from his former girlfriend Sala, who was insistent on marrying the young rogue. His adventures led him to reunite with former Imperial Academy classmate Jahan Cross, who now served as an Imperial agent and had diplomatic immunity for his assistance. For this service to the Empire, Jahan also earned a hefty sum of credits. Han found himself smuggling weapons to insurgents, getting into debt, and paying to repair and upgrade the Millennium Falcon, at times working alongside corporate sector authority, and at others running afoul of them. At one point, Solo executed a prison escape. His crew grew with the addition of 2 droids, Bolux and Blue Max. Han left to the corporate sector shortly after accidentally founding a new religion, the cult of Varn, on the planet Kamar. Han and Chewbacca became unintended abolitionists when they were contracted to transport sentient cargo, but did not do what their employers had in mind with the goods. This earned yet another price on their heads. By this time, the Falcon's crew was wanted by both parties and pirate slavers alike looking to collect or get revenge. Solo was forced to flee, the corporate sector having only a handful of allies left. Han and Chewbacca continued their adventures, which included running scams and joining an archaeological expedition looking for a treasure ship in the Tion hegemony in the Alula sector. For a time, the two continued to invade Imperial authorities. At one point, their luck ran out and the two were captured. They had made an escape, however, and Solo, Chewie, and the Falcon found themselves in the Outer Rim. Han and Chewbacca became mired in the underworld and ran operations against the Empire on behalf of gangsters that held Han in debt. One of these gangsters was Solima, a crime lord who owned a casino world called Hollow Moon. He encountered an old friend named Bilal Batros. Bilal was raised on trader's luck by Shrike and was also an orphan. A familiar pattern emerged by this time. Han and crew found themselves at odds with both the crime lord that had hired him and the Imperial authority acting in the Theron sector. Luckily, the Falcon afforded them a quick getaway. Bilal wanted to become a permanent crew member of the Falcon, but was more trouble than he was worth. He was the cause of Han's being exiled from another galactic sector with all guns aimed at his back. Solo continued to work for Jabba the Hutt and had regular interactions with the rebellion, though he would keep his distance from the cause, caring little for politics and eschewing the risks open association would entail. He eventually swore off working for the Alliance after a number of close encounters with the Empire. Han also took a personal interest in helping Chewbacca's homeworld of Kashyyyk, which had been under Imperial occupation, resulting in the deaths and enslavement of countless Wookiees. Solo had also been burned on multiple occasions by the rebellion, souring any desire for political involvement and damaging his own reputation amongst other criminals and smugglers. Most notable were his interactions with the rebel operative, Bria Theron, with whom Han had a romantic relationship in the past. Solo's fortunes would again turn sour when running a spice job for Jabba the Hutt. While being boarded by the Imperial authorities, he was forced to dump an expensive shipment into the void of space to escape being caught. This put Han into severe debt with the crime lord, and having recently lost the confidence of many of his former allies in the smuggling world, limited Solo's options to recovering the money, causing him to become increasingly desperate to take jobs to recoup the costs.
This would ultimately lead to him working again with the Rebel Alliance when a simple transportation gig ferrying a small band of Tatooine locals to the planet Alderaan turned into Han taking up riskier and more central roles within the ranks of the rebellion. At first simply to get paid, but eventually leading him to embrace the cause. Before the fateful encounter, however, Solo would attempt another job rescuing the crime lord Tiber Zahn from imprisonment. Around the same time, Solo also received the news of the death of his former romantic partner and rebel operative, Bria Theron. After being recruited to rescue Princess Leia Organa of the Rebel Alliance and return her to the Rebel space, Solo initially sought to collect his reward money and abandon the cause. However, he was persuaded by his co-pilot Chewbacca to return to help the rebels as they faced down the newest Imperial galactic superweapon, the Death Star. Solo was instrumental in the destruction of the battle station, distracting the Sith Lord and Imperial Forcer, Darth Vader, long enough to allow Luke Skywalker to destroy the superweapon.
Hello and welcome aboard the Millennial Falcon. Joining me today is Jordan.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hola.
And we're talking about Han Solo, Captain, Pirate, Rebel, Smuggler, Hero.
Also known sometimes as Genos Idanian.
And what was the other one?
I can't remember.
He's got a few names under
We
his
literally
belt.
just did this 2 minutes ago. Vic Drago.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that name.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his
Ivan Drago.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. His USSR counterpart. So Han Solo. So Disney.
By the way, the USSR counterpart, his name is Han Community. Han together.
Han, we are not individuals.
Is that weak? I couldn't resist.
So bad.
Anyways, Disney just came out with didn't just come out. I think it's been a couple of years now since Han Solo came out. I have yet to watch it.
The film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Solo.
A Star Wars story.
Yes. A movie no one asked for. And
but we all got it anyway.
we got it anyways, forced down your throat. It's interesting to note how much Disney's new canon, and it was pretty evident in the Solo episode here, is lifting from the Legends. Particularly with Solo, we just talked about everything from like the Cloud Raiders incident. They even take the names and stuff of the characters, and they parallel it in the Solo movie. And it's interesting how much of that they're still retaining and just putting their own spin on. I have my own opinions on that. We probably won't delve into here.
It does make you wonder at the wisdom of saying, we're doing our new Disney canon. We're rebooting the series, except for you're not really though.
Yeah,
you're just
picking and choosing.
You're just stealing a bunch of stuff from from the Legends.
You know what though? Disney has just gotta, I don't know, just do a stupid time heist movie and then make Legends canon again.
That would be great.
and make it all kosher,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, do Heir to the Empire with deep faked original cast. That would be amazing.
I'd totally watch it.
Yeah.
But also everything from like Han's Imperial career, that's definitely reflected in both. Former Imperial, Smuggler, and then even Rebel after that.
And, sort of orphan fun and games on Corellia in his early life. Was it still Corellia
Again,
Disney?
I haven't watched the movie.
Oh, I don't.
so
That's
right,
I
I'm
watched
looking-
it, but
I
it was
can't
so
remember.
forgettable.
So forgettable.
Yeah, that's the thing about talking about that movie is I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but
you don't have anything
I don't
good
have
either.
anything to say about it really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
The other thing too is one part where they really diverge, and I almost think they did it intentionally, was the origin of Solo's name.
Yeah.
Which is a huge sticking point for this for the Disney movie, where the name Solo is
That
actually
you haven't seen yet. Know more about.
but
the
I've
two
read
people who've seen
I've
it.
read it. I've read the plot points, and the name Solo is meaningless in Disney canon.
Okay.
It has no ties to anything. It was an imperial officer literally
Yeah.
bestowing the name on him. But in the old legends, Solo actually has this like big lineage tied to it, right? It's an ancient royal house of Alderaan. Corellia. And I just found that like divergence interesting in that like I almost feel like that was intentionally with everything that they lift, yet they also like give the middle finger to other ideas of like the name means nothing, you come from nothing.
Yeah.
Which I'm not entirely opposed to be honest. I don't like everyone's legacy backgrounds having to be tied to something.
I kind of agree. Like, why does like Han have to? Like, is he only
a
special
royal
because
heir.
he's like actually has this royal lineage? Like,
and this comes up a lot with many of the characters.
But he doesn't have the royal lineage in the Disney canon, right?
No, he does
no,
not.
not
Yeah.
Disney,
So that is a plus. Is that they didn't go.
But they did kind of retcon that part of his
Yeah.
backstory, whereas they lifted other parts.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, I didn't love his Legends backstory.
Yeah, not just
the
whole,
origin of the name.
Yeah, the whole origin of the name, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone's you're a character in the modern times, so we have to go retcon a big backstory for you and your history. And your family, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessary.
But also, the thing, like,
I also
it's-
hated the way Disney did it, just for the record. Also, having your name bestowed on you by an imperial officer.
Yeah, I wish there was like
dumb too.
I wish it was like had something more to do with like him being like a smuggler or something, like that he got the name, even if it was like a nickname or something that was given to him.
Yeah, and there's that whole nominative determinism thing that runs through Star Wars, where characters very much do what their name is.
Yeah.
It's like, your name is Baker because your family comes from Bakers back in the day.
Right.
And like maybe that could have been the origin of Solo's name.
A line of smugglers.
A line of smugglers.
No, but like that's my kind of my issue is like Han Solo isn't.
Yeah,
he's not like a royal high class person. Like
No.
that's just not. His
I
character.
will argue that, and with all the whole like mythical source material that Lucas draws from, the trope of a
it fits thematically.
Yeah, there's this trope, and I can't remember where it comes from or the exact wording of it, but where you have this like street urchin that has this like royal heritage.
Yeah.
Like
You know,
the Prince and the Pauper kind of idea.
Right, exactly. And you see it repeated, and I can't remember what era it was popular in or what stories he was actually drawing from for this in particular.
But isn't that kind of Luke already?
So it's something that repeats multiple times.
Yeah,
multiple
I guess
characters.
so.
So again, it's
Yeah.
overused,
Rhymes.
but I mean, if everyone had, everyone
yeah.
has big family names behind them, right? But to be fair, like I said, that's probably where Lucas was drawing on,
Right.
Or even if Lucas had that big of a hand in the extended universe back.
I don't know if he had a hand in that.
Yeah, that may have just
like
been
it just doesn't
further
seem
off.
to like add to his character at all.
Right, exactly.
But
It-
it is what it is.
yeah. Although I do like the family drama he does have with his relatives, with,
Sure.
his aunt and his cousin, who
Yeah.
end up like he's a bad Han Solo essentially, right?
Yeah.
Solo, who was not a noble smuggler.
Yeah.
Just some other quick little points that were interesting, just in his backstory, is just the comparisons of his name.
It would be a fun. This is what the next Disney Star Wars tale movie should be: is a prequel to Solo, a Star Wars story, where they go back to Corellia and it's like Pretty Woman for Han Solo, where he's like trying to fit in with his aristocratic family.
They should just they should just remake American Graffiti in space with Harrison Ford.
There you go. That's the answer to all
I
your
think
problems.
they did. It was called Star Battles.
Was it? I don't know if that was really a remake, but I digress. What were you saying, Christian?
Just on while we're on Han's name, one of his alter egos, Genos Idinian, is an anagram of another Harrison Ford character, Indiana Jones, which was just like a cool little nod. If you didn't pick it
Also,
a little Easter egg there.
Yeah.
Another sort of George Lucas character. I'm not exactly sure how much creative input Lucas had on the Indiana Jones.
He did have,
but he did have a fair bit.
Yeah.
I think
there are
Spielberg
Easter eggs between the two, and they were friends. And
they collaborated, and he's credited as an executive producer or something on it.
Even one of the hieroglyphics in one of the Indiana Jones movies is actually C-3PO. R2-D2.
And to wit. Let me find my notes here. So there was actually a little bit of a Star Wars Indiana Jones crossover where the Millennium Falcon does some sort of blind hyperspace jump and end up crashing into Earth's Pacific Northwest, and Han dies there, but Chewie lives, and since Wookiees are super long lived, Chewie becomes the basis
of the Sasquatch.
And then
where is this lifted?
This is from a 10-page non-canon comic story written by W.H. Blackman. And but it gets better because Indiana Jones finds the wreckage of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh my goodness!
That should have been Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
those should have been the aliens he encountered.
Chewbacca. That would be terrific.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
So other sort of non-Star Wars tie-ins to Han Solo is like the space serials, like the Flash Gordons and that kind of thing that we talk about a lot, is very much sort of the inspiration for Han. He's this cool, cooler than cool, suave ladies man, gambling, shooting first.
Yeah, he's like a bad
always boy. Shooting first.
Kind of a bad boy, yeah.
Can we talk about that for a quick second?
Okay.
Just for anyone.
I mean, you can't really do a podcast about Han Solo without talking about
this. Yeah. For anyone who isn't aware of the fan divide in the community, was when Lucas went back to re-edit A New Hope. Initially, when Han Solo is in the bar with Greedo, and he's being threatened, Han shoots Greedo under the table. He shoots him, supposedly, I guess you could say, unprovoked, as a just to show off kind of how cutthroat.
Didn't Greedo have a gun?
He did have a gun pointed at him.
So
it's
not like
he was talking.
It was a preemptive strike.
Yeah,
he was holding a gun on him. I don't call that unprovoked.
Unprovoked. Sure, that's fair. But then when Lucas re-edited it, he didn't like how cutthroat it made Han look. So he decided to have, in terrible CGI fashion, Greedo shoot first, Han do a little head dodge, and then fire back.
And just go on YouTube and just watch that scene where Han moves his head. It's awful, amateur.
It is. Bad. And the first time I saw Star Wars was actually the special edition.
Oh yeah.
So to you, it's always.
So to me, it's always been. But even as like a 6-year-old watching it for the first time, I remember that looking a little out of place and wrong.
What did I just see?
I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then there was a few re-edits back and forth. I think they had one where they even had like a duel out where they're firing a couple of times back and forth too, if I recall correctly. There have been a few re-edits.
Oh, okay.
And but essentially what it did is divided the fan community, as Star Wars often does nowadays. And those who,
since time immemorial, to be fair.
But those who feel that Han, it's fine for Han to be a little ruthless, right? It's a character trait of his. He's always been this like underworld kind of greasy type character. And like you said, maybe his attack wasn't totally unprovoked, so it was a little bit of a justified shooting anyways. But then you have, I don't know really who argues in favor of Greedo shooting first, to be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever heard a legitimate argument.
I totally agree.
Other than that's the way it is now because Lucas said so.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Why? He's trying to collect a live bounty on him,
exactly.
Isn't he?
So why would he just try and?
Why wouldn't, if he was gonna try to kill him, why wouldn't he just shoot him as soon as he saw him?
Right, exactly. Why risk yourself like that? So I really don't have a counter.
Although if you get into Greedo's backstory, he's actually a very incompetent bounty hunter, and that's like only his like first or second contract is the one he goes for after Han. So it's like kind of fits with
amateurish
with Greedo's
Greedo
style.
episode forthcoming.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The tragic tale of a noble character.
Of Greedo.
Oh boy.
But yeah, just something I thought I'd bring up. What were you saying there, Sam, before I went on this huge rabbit trail?
Oh, I don't remember. I was talking about Flash Gordon, I guess, and sort of vamping on things I don't really know very much about because I was never into those like old cornball era sci-fi movies.
1960s.
They just I
Pulp
don't get
TV.
anything from it. I'm into like the pulp horror from that era, but nothing else really. And like some of the spaghetti westerns are good, but I don't feel very nostalgic for it. And especially for the sci-fi stuff because it's really bad.
It's really rough, yeah.
It's poorly acted, poorly written.
For a lot of the audiences that were watching,
It was groundbreaking.
Yeah, and then, they were kids in the 1960s. So when the 70s came out, they're, late teens, early 20s. So this was nostalgic to them to see Star Wars even, right?
Yeah,
the first
exactly.
Star Wars.
Star Wars has always preyed upon nostalgia.
Yeah.
I just want to touch quickly in universe then on Han Solo, how he ends up being a fugitive from all sides. He's a fugitive in his own underworld environment. He's a fugitive from the government, the Empire, and even a couple of times it gets a little rough with the rebellion even. He always seems to be making enemies everywhere
Different
he goes.
factions within the underworld.
Yes.
Too, right?
Yeah,
It's
everyone, wherever Han goes, everyone has their guns drawn.
And again, that would be another really cool Disney canon solo movie that they didn't do. Is like that story of doing is it Lucky Number 11 or something? That movie where there's all those assassins who are after that one guy. Like that would be an awesome like
Everyone's
Star
after
Wars
Han
tale.
and they're just like
because
killing each
everybody
other.
is after Han all the time, right?
Yeah, that would make a good story. Even a book.
Yeah,
I would read that.
It would be terrific.
Yeah, but just interesting to note, like Han's, I guess, poor luck, and a lot of it you got to admit is part of his own decision making.
He's gambler.
He gets himself.
He's
into
doing
those
crazy
situations,
things.
yes.
He's getting in fights with people,
and then he burns
academy
himself and has to run from the sector.
So by A New Hope, Han is really he's kind of a failure at life. He's like a total burnout, dropped out of the academy, fugitive 5 times over. His only friend is a big hairy person who smells and
cool. He's only hanging out with him because he has a life debt.
He's only hanging out with him because he's essentially a slave. That's actually one of the.
But there also is like elements of
there's
sheer luck
and
with Han.
Yeah. And
it's not all unlucky.
I mean, yes, I think he gets himself in a situation, and then it's luck that bails him out of the situations.
It's almost like he
did the Corellian run in whatever parsecs.
7 or something. Yeah. But it's almost like the luck equation balances out in Han's life. Like he has so much bad luck, but so much good luck too that he's just sort of luck neutral.
It never advances anywhere.
Kind of like how the absolute temperature of the known universe is 0 degrees Kelvin. When you add up all the cold spots with the hot spots, it just averages to nothing.
Huh. There is also a string of nobility that goes through Han. You have to admit, like everything from like saving Chewbacca when he's in the Imperial Academy, when he sees things that he personally violate his own moral code, however gray that code might be.
Right.
He still acts, and he acts even to his own detriment, right? Like he's
like, is the term like hedonistically moral or something? Like he does good things because he's just not bad. Like, and because doing bad things feels bad for him. That's why, right? It's not like
that might be it.
He doesn't have like a big overarching moral philosophy. He's not a rebel
this
fighter.
Doesn't seem right.
He's
to
just
me,
like this
so
doesn't feel right. I'm not going to do that.
Right, exactly.
Well,
but again,
he does go out of his way, like with Chewie.
But that's because it makes him feel bad. That's the whole point of it. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying
it's not that he thinks slavery is necessarily wrong. It's that he sees this one guy getting beat
Yeah,
and he says, I don't like that. I don't.
And
like the way
not
it
only
feels."
that, but he's being commanded to participate
In
this
that
very
oppression.
terrible
Right.
thing, right?
So it's not like he sets
fair
out then to liberate all slaves at all times.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the other thing,
Like,
right?
there's
He
no-
doesn't actually become an abolitionist or join the rebellion.
Yeah, he just
right?
doesn't want to take part
Which,
in.
if you were operating under some big overarching moral philosophy,
Philosophy.
that's kind of what you would do
Yeah.
after
Well,
that.
but that's his character evolution too, because he goes from this like
Yeah.
self-interested smuggler who's just doing it for the money. Then he kind of feels like that moral pinch that makes him get involved. And then once
Although
he's
even
involved-
then, I would argue that his involvement with the rebellion is really more tied to Leia than
than the
anything.
cause.
He just wanted to get laid.
If you do read some of the extra
Space gets
material,
lonely.
a big hairy Wookiee is not enough.
Does not do it for you.
But no,
You can't go space gay for another species.
He does have that air of becoming part of the cause. He does by the end of it. Genuinely, he starts to care. He cares for himself. He cares to his friends and the people he wants to.
And
Yeah.
we'll get into this certainly more in our second part of the Han biography, but he certainly does a lot more altruistic things after
As he gets older,
Return
yes.
of the Jedi, and he gets involved in the rebels sort of mopping up the mess the Imperials have made of the galaxy.
Yeah, because he finally starts to believe in something.
Right.
And
yeah, he may have like selfish motives in the beginning, but he sort of develops like a feeling of compassion or feeling for whatever the cause is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly when he has kids too, like feels like a very sort of true
turning point.
kind of character development is that's when the hand really starts to get soft is when he has the kids, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next part of this because we're really going to delve into the Disney version of Han versus the.
Or we could just not. I'm sick of talking about the Disney canon.
We have to. It has to be done because these
Let's
characters.
do a
some
separate
things are-
podcast
some
just
things are
based on
necessary.
Disney canon.
Yeah, but we'll save that for
Han
later
part 2?
discussion. Yeah.
I'm just going to be passive aggressively quiet the whole episode.
Good.
Okay. There's also talking about sort of the archetype that Han was. I mean, first there's the obvious space cowboy thing. He's even sort of dressed like a cowboy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
wearing like those
He has a bit of a swagger when
the
he
tight
walks.
spats.
Yeah.
He's got the
vest,
swagger.
yeah.
He's got boots. He's got a vest.
Yeah.
And he even has a gun that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
resembles a revolver in a certain way.
It has like a holster, like a
Yeah.
revolver. Yeah.
That gun
Exactly.
is actually based off of a German.
It does also look like
Yeah, the gun
a
does.
Mauser. Is
Yeah,
it is that a Mauser?
Yeah, all the Star Wars guns. We'll do it in a Star Wars technology
Oh
episode.
my god, I'm so excited for
Yes.
those.
Okay. We'll save it for that discussion. But
So there's the cowboy archetype, but then there's also sort of in the 70s in American film an evolution of the cowboy archetype where it's sort of the stage between cowboys and space, which is truckers.
naturally, of course.
Naturally. But if you think about it, truckers really are they fill that same economic space as cowboys kind of did.
Yeah.
Where it's like a lucrative job, but it's dangerous. You're away a lot. You often get involved in criminal enterprises. Truckers.
Stopping at seedy truck stops.
I mean, truckers are great people, and our culture is sort of run on truckers. Like if we didn't have truckers, we would be in a world of hurt.
Until AI is
Hopefully,
coming.
truckers listen to this podcast while they're trucking.
I hope so. My dad, who looks a lot like Harrison Ford, is a trucker, so I have much love for the truckers. But they smuggle a lot of drugs, and that's essentially what Han was doing. And there were a lot of movies in the 70s, like Smokey and the Bandit, White Line Fever, Breaker Breaker. It was a really big thing. It was like the 70s is famous for its, insert noun exploitation films like blaxploitation, and then there was basically trucker exploitation. There was a rash of that in the 70s, and I think a lot of Han's character is really sort of based off that and vamping off that theme. And that's about all I have to say. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, Twitter. Become a member of...
Become a patron.
Become a patron, and then that will cover your tuition costs for joining the Jedi Academy. And you'll find out about that once you sign up to become a patron.
Mm-hmm. With that, good luck. Like Han Solo.
I hope the Force goes alongside you.
May everyone be luck neutral.
Yeah.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Are you stuck up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to give the show a 5-star rating and review, and give us a follow on social media. This episode was produced and edited by me, Jordan Swaim, written and directed by Christian Lutz and Sam Swaim. All original music was scored and recorded by my music project, Farewell to Shadowland.